Welcome all, Boone here from EWPRO. Getting straight into the weekly outlook, looking at the DXY on the daily. I'm looking at all this in here as a correction and possibly another one down at this stage. On the H4, we can see that we're getting a lot of bearish divergence. We had this bear hidden here between these lows, and we got a high. We got bearish divergence. So I'm looking for a sell to go and break the low. At this stage, it's not the best because I would have really liked to see a nice impulse down, breaking this low and then giving us a correction. And then we could look for a sell. But it hasn't done that. So it is quite risky still. It looks like we're getting a bear hidden in here between this top and this top here. And this has already come down and broken the low. So we already have sort of 5 down in here. We're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be very difficult to actually get in. I mean, if you're looking for a buy, it's quite risky because we already have the bearish divergence on the H4. And we don't have a nice impulse down breaking this low on the H1. So it is quite difficult. Ideally, this does come down, breaks this low here, gives us a nice larger correction than these over here. And we get by like at least 3 down. So until I get something like this, yeah, pretty much leaving it alone. AU, we've been sitting in like this in here for like probably 6 months or more, 7 months. So it's been going sideways for 7 months. Very difficult to trade because you'd be getting cut to pieces in here. I'm looking at this like A, all this is a B, and we get a C up. So there is possible still more upside in here, up to that 100 fib. There's a couple of different scenarios here. Like we sort of have like 1, 2, 3 here, breaking this low over here. So this can be an A, a B, and a C, a flat, and then we get another one down for like an A, B, C. Or this one just keeps on going and breaks the top and possibly gets up to that 100 fib on the daily. Very similar to the DXY. We're getting a nice impulse up in here on the H1, but we haven't broken that top yet. Ideally, we get a nice impulse up, breaking this top, giving us a nice correction and a buy setup, and we can look to buy. So that's pretty much what I'll be waiting for. Yeah. GY, like this is looking quite corrective in here as well, like this little bit in here. I'm looking for that A, B, C up to this 100 fib here. It did go and break the top of the A wave, this wave C, but this is not falling over, so it's telling me there's possibly more upside. On the H4, there's still possibly another one down here. Been waiting for this correction, this time factor here with this arrow to get another one down. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4. We get a 5th wave down and then a buy set up on the lower time frames. You could look to buy to go and break the tops. But again, there's no real setup for the buy at this stage. It's more of a, well, it's a very risky scalp. I'd be looking at some sort of a flat here and like A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, and then we get a wave 4 and a wave 5 up. So unless if you're looking for a buy, the safest way is to wait for this wave 4 and then trade a wave 5 up on the H1. Other than that, it's just be scalping. This in here, it's extremely risky. Like, we got all the bearish divergence here, so it's extremely risky to buy. More than likely, this is a flat. We got like an A, B, C in here, and then you get an A, B, C, and then you get an A, B, C before it goes. So if you sort of brought the break of this trend line here, you got to be very careful, because this can fall over, give you another one down, and then go. So yeah, ideally at this stage, well, I personally, I'd be leaving it alone, because of what's happening on the H4. We're getting that bearish divergence. Oh, well, that wave 4, sorry, and yeah, we get that wave 5 down. There's no sell set up on it. And if you're looking for a buy, you'd have to be extremely careful here, because like I just showed, this can be a flat. But yeah, I mean, this is quite choppy on the M5. So yeah, I'd be very careful buying. Yeah, there's really no buy setup or sell setup on it at this stage. EU bounced clean off the 100 fib. We got that C up bouncing off that 100 fib there. On the H4, it's been very choppy in here. It pretty much done what I was looking for. I was looking at this here as a 3 breaking this low, and then you get an A, a B, and a C, a flat, and then you get like the A, B, C. It never, this wave here never went down and broke the low, unfortunately. And if you remember, there is a bear hidden there. We did get a very deep retracement, but this is looking rather bullish. It never went down and broke that low, making this extremely difficult as well to trade. I mean, the only thing you could really do is go down onto the lower time frames and look for a correction in here after this impulse here. If you got a correction, you could look for a scalp. It's really just a scalp to see how far this goes. It's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get a 5th wave up here. So it's not the best. But yeah, if you're scalping, you could look for a buy scalp. You'd be going right down onto the M5, waiting for a correction in here. Get some sort of a correction on the M5, and then a buy setup. You could look for 3 up, just scalping. And this is one that's starting to look a little bit better. Overall, I'm looking at that A, a B, and a C here. It started to give this nice C up, but then we got this very large correction in here. This expanding flat. Now, definitely can buy. This is one of the ones that I like the most at this stage, because we got a nice impulse up from a low. So if we get a correction in here Monday, Tuesday, I'll be looking to buy. And I'd be targeting at least above this top. Ideally, it gets to the 100 fib. I'll have to adjust this 100 fib again. But yeah, we can get up to this 100 fib here. So yeah, I'll be looking for a buy. If we get a nice correction in there Monday, Tuesday, I'll be looking to buy this. This is one of the better ones that I see, because we have that nice impulse up from the low. This here. GY has kept on going. It's just about breaking this top over here, which is fine. I'd still be looking for a C down here, I'll still be looking at all this as a B wave, A, B, C, and then we get an a B, and a C down before we get, more upside. As you can see on the weekly, this is a wave 4. I'm looking at this as the end of a wave 3, and get a large correction in here for a wave 4, and then we get more upside. So again, like I've been saying, this was a buy in here. This was we had 3 down in here. There was buys in here and that to go up and break this top. Now we've broken it and we've got all this bearish divergence. So you've got to be very careful. It's still looking very much bullish up the top here. So you could scalp the buys, extremely risky, but I'd like to see an end here. More bearish divergence in here. A nice impulse down, breaking this low, and then a sell, a correction, and then a sell setup to sell. I'm more interested in a sell than a buy at this stage. UY is pretty much the same. I'm looking at all this here as a correction, and we get some sort of an A, a B, and a C here. This can turn quite complex, and then we get an A, B, C here, some sort of a larger flat, and then we get a even larger flat with an A, B, C before possibly more upside. There's really not much on this. It's very similar to GY. We did get 5 up in here. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the bearish divergence here. So I'd be expecting a larger correction than these. These corrections here, over here. And then you could like 5, 3, 5. This is still looking very much bullish here. It's just scalping. If you're buying around here, if I just go down to the lower time frame quickly, you can see that this is quite choppy here. And we have a ball hidden here as well. So, more than likely this will break the top, go up and break the top. If you're looking for a buy, it's just scalping though, you're in and out. Yeah. CAD, USD CAD, looking at that as the X2, and we get a wave Z down here. It's starting to fall over. Excuse me. Starting to fall over here, but it's not from a top. This is the top over here. So this is more like 3 down. So there's nothing to say that we can't get an A, a B. This is a B wave, and we get more upside. So this is quite difficult. Ideally, this impulse here would have come from a top, and then we could have looked like on the New Zealand USD, where we got a nice impulse from the top. Well, from a bottom on the NU, but if we had got a nice impulse from a top here, we got to look for a correction and more downside. But that's not the case. We have 3 down in here, so you have to be very careful. This can go up and break the top. You'd want a really nice correction in here if you're looking for a sell. You'd want a nice looking correction and a sell set up to look for that sell. Not really interested in a buy, but yeah. USD Swiss franc, we got that A, B, C. Looking at all this as possible correction for more downside, like I've been mentioning for months now. I was sort of looking for, we had a nice impulse down here. So I was looking for a correction here and then more downside. Instead, it's gone straight back up. And this here is looking bullish as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get another one up here. And this is some sort of a flat here. So we get like an A, a B, and we get a C up in here. You got to be very careful because we're up the top here. So you want to be break even at the break of this top, or even the break of this top on the lower time frames. If you get in on the lower time frames, you'd want to be at the break even at the break of this top. It's quite risky to buy, but it is looking rather bullish, after this nice impulse. So yeah, I'd be looking for the buy, in saying that it's extremely risky. And if we look here, there is a bear hidden here. So it's even more riskier, this buy. So yeah, me personally, I'd be leaving it alone at this particular stage. EG, pretty much leaving this alone. We've already got the 5 up in here. We traded this up in here, that 5 up there. Then I'm looking for a larger correction. I'm looking for some sort of a larger correction in here after these 5 up. So I'm looking for some sort of a running or expanding flat. We get like an A, a B, and a C down in here. I want a larger correction than these over here, and then I can look for a buy for another 5, like 5, 3, 5. Until I get that larger correction, I'm pretty much staying out of it. It's too risky. WTI, I've been looking for a couple of weeks now a buy in here. Like I've mentioned many times before, I would really like to see this low here broken, but it was never broken in this. It hadn't been broken. Ideally, it does like come down and break that low, and then I can look for a nice buy setup for this like wave C. The last couple of weeks, though, this has been looking very bullish in here, and it still does. We got an impulse up. This is looking very corrective. So I'm looking for at least an A, B, C. But it's just not giving us those buy setups to buy. It may be now. I'll go down to the lower time frames and have a look. It may be now. No, it's still very. I mean, you know, we got this. This is the low here, and it's very choppy. So ideally, this does come down, breaks that low again, gives us a nice impulse up, breaking this top, then a correction, and then I can look for a buy just for that C up on the H4. I'm only looking for a C up, really. This C up to this 100 fib, and that's about it. But yeah, I just look. I just need a nice correction, before I can jump into it. Well, a nice buy setup on WTI, and I just don't have it yet. Gold's right up the top of the market. Be very careful here too. H4, like I've said, we got the 5 up, and then we had this, and this gave us that bull hidden, and we're getting a very deep correction to like this impulse down here, which is understandable. It's what usually happens, but we get like an A, a B, a C in here, a flat, and then you get like an A, B, C, may or may not come and break that top, and then you get like the A, B, C, larger flat, and then you get more upside. So I think we're in a correction here, right up the top of the market, so you will have to be quite careful. You can see how choppy this is in here. It's quite choppy. I mean, even this one was quite choppy. This one only gave us 3 up. I thought it would give us 5. Well, it pretty much has now. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. We had that bull hidden here, and we're getting this. May be an extended wave in here. A wave 5, extended wave 5. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, extended wave 5. So yeah, extremely risky again. I'm pretty much staying out of it. I mean, you could scalp the buys, but yeah, you'd have to be mindful that you're scalping right at the top of the market. So silver's taken off. So yeah, I dare say gold will as well. But this was the better one out of the two. We had 3 down in here. So I was sort of expecting this. wasn't expecting it to be so impulsive, but it has gone up like 1, 2, 3 up, breaking the top. We get an A, a B, a C in here, larger flat, and then we can look for more upside. Again, the only way you could really trade this now is scalping, and you'd just be waiting for a correction. Like, this is your last impulse, so you'd be waiting for a correction in here. If you got a nice correction and a buy setup, you could look for a buy. It's just scalping to break that top. Yeah. Bitcoin, it's fallen over. Pretty much the same as last week. Nothing's changed. We got a nice impulse down from the top. So we're just waiting for a correction in here. I got a 50 and a 61.8 fib retracement. So we'll wait for this correction. And if it looks corrective and we get a sell set up, we can sell. We're just waiting for this. So if you're buying, possibly buying into a correction. Extremely dangerous to be buying, but because we have this bear hidden here. But other than that, I'd be expecting like an impulse up and then a correction and at least 3 up in here. So if you do get a nice correction on the lower time frames, you can look for a buy just for a C up. I mean, more than likely it'll turn more complex and we get some sort of, like an A, a B, and a C, a larger correction, and then more downside. Like looking for a correction on the daily to sell. So it may turn more complex, I dare say. Like I just showed, get some sort of a flat here, and then a C up, like an A, B, C. S&P 500 right up the top of the market. Again, it's just scalping. We're right up the top of the market. If I quickly go to the weekly, if you have a look at this weekly, right from the bottom here, we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 larger correction, and then we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got a 5, 3, 5, and we're just about up to that second target on the way 5, that 161.8. So you got to be very careful. The strange thing is here, which very rarely see, is there's no bearish divergence here. There's no bearish divergence. So wherever this fifth wave ends, I'll be looking for another correction like we had here, or a similar size correction, or a larger correction than these over here, and then more upside. We don't have any bearish divergence at all, so on the weekly. But yeah, on the this here, we got 3 down in here. It pretty much played out how I was looking at it. If you go back through my videos, I was looking for a flat in here for an A, B, C. It gave us that C down and then it's taken off. So if you get a correction in here on the lower time frames, you can look for more upside. Scalping, just scalping. You're right at the top of the market. And yeah, I'd be definitely watching this 161.8 here because we may get a bounce off of that. So yeah. AU200, pretty much waiting for a correction here. There's a couple of scenarios here because this is a nice impulse up. We sort of have an A, a B, and a C. This may be an expanding flat in here, and we go up and break the top from here. But in saying that, it's very risky because we've got a nice impulse up from a top. So there's 2 scenarios. This is either a flat to go and break the top again, or this is the first impulse down in the correction and we get an A, a B, and a C, and then more upside A, B, C. So if you're looking for the buy, you got to be very careful, because at this stage we do have a bear hidden here. More than likely you'll just get a correction in here and 3 up and then another one down. So yeah, if you do get a correction in here, you can definitely look for the buy, because of that bullish hidden. We can go up and break the top. So this would be your opportunity, if we get a nice correction in here, to get into a buy. You'd have to be mindful that if it doesn't go up and break the top, it'll just be like an A, a B, and a C up. And then you get another one down, like I showed with that bear hidden there. So yeah, you may get a nice opportunity to buy. And if you're lucky, this is a expanding flat here and it goes up and breaks the top. The FTSE, I was looking for a sell on this. We're right at the top of the market, you'd be very careful. We had this nice impulse here from a top. So I was just looking for a correction in here. Instead, it's turned quite motive. So again, you'd have to be very careful. We may get a correction in here, 3 up in here, and then you get like an A, a B, and a C before you get more upside. So yeah, either way, you're looking for a correction. There was actually a buy in here. We got a nice impulse up from a low, breaking this top here, and then a correction to buy. But yeah, if you're not in that, well, you'd have to wait for a wave 4 and then wave 5. But yeah, I mean, the DAX was quite. It gave us a nice impulse up in here. We had that ball hidden, so we were always looking for this to go up and break that top when we had this nice impulse down. And then this one started to crack very early. So we sort of have like an A, B, C here, and then an A, a B, and a C. So this may be the end of the correction, and we go up and break the top here, like for an A, B, C. It's gonna. This one didn't give a buy setup like the FTSE did, so it would have been a lot harder to get in. But then I'd be looking at the H1. You wait for a wave 4. We got a 1, 2, 3. You wait for the wave 4, and then you trade the wave 5 up. So I hope you all got something out of this weekly outlook. If you did, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.